This is Mark Tronson from the Australian Missionary News. I have here with me today Peter Blencowe. Peter is the head of Flo Harris Lodge, which is a young people's hostel in Sydney, where both Wesley and Sally, two of our children, have lived just when they came to Sydney. Now, Peter, when did Flo Harris Lodge begin and why?
Flo Harris Lodge began about 50 years ago with a house just behind me, Morton House, being bought by the church. It was called Morton House, the Petersham Baptist Church, for men coming in from the country to Sydney, first time for study or employment. And by then the country could be defined as Wollongong, which is a bit of a laugh today. And then about sometime later, the tennis courts of the church were surrendered to build the two wings that we currently call Flo Harris Lodge, one for women, one for men.
Now, who was Flo Harris?
Flo Harris was a staunch member of the church here, also spent many, many years in what was then East Bengal, or today Bangladesh, doing missionary work there. And she was a driving force and one of the visionaries behind this whole concept of providing hostel accommodation. She herself had managed a girls' hostel in Birasiri in East Bengal many, many years ago. So she had a feel for the importance of finding a safe, secure place for those who need accommodation for some sort of tertiary or vocational training. Now, certainly
today and in the recent years past, it's been for young people and lots of Baptist young people.
Yeah, certainly it was established primarily for Baptist young people, but the net is cast wider than that these days, and so it's for anyone. We are known by the various universities who have our name on their accommodation list, so we get people from overseas, from regional and rural Australia, but mainly we focus on 18 to 25-year-olds, in other words, those that are doing their first tertiary education or TAFE or apprenticeship, first job, and need accommodation in and around Sydney.
Okay, now obviously this is a Christian youth hostel. So can you tell me something about its philosophy and how that works out?
Yeah, because it's part of Petersham Baptist Church, it does have a Christian ethos as its foundation, and this is represented by the structure, the leadership structure. There's my wife and I as managers. Then we have youth workers, a young couple who live in what's the old coach house at the back here, a young Christian couple, and they are to be committed to the church and model what it means to be a Christian here in this environment, and encourage people, if they're not going to a church elsewhere, to come to Petersham Baptist. But keep in mind, not all our residents are Christians, but we certainly have a Christian ethos.
Now, both Wesley in 2002 and Sally in 2009 attended and were involved in the Petersham Baptist Church and the youth group, and they both found it very fulfilling.
Yeah, we certainly, that's part of with the youth minister here is also very committed to interlocking through the youth workers with our residents, because it's a very difficult time sometimes for young people to leave home and find their own feet and create new friendships. So the Christian ethos is very strong, and it's very much supported by the church and the ministers.
Good. Now, Peter and Ruth Blencowe, can you tell us something about yourselves?
Well, it goes back to 1946. What do you want, Mark? Ruth and I are from Adelaide originally. We have 4 sons, married sons, 4 wonderful daughters-in-law and 12 grandchildren at this stage. So, yeah, we were left Adelaide in end of 1974 and went to Southeast Asia as Bible teaching people into the communities, one of the countries there. and spent 17 years with a mission organisation doing that stuff, both in that country and then 7 years back here in Sydney. And then spent about 18 years in pastoral ministry at 2 churches, and now here at Flow.
And so where were you just for those 18 years?
Campbelltown Baptist Church and Heathcote Engadine Baptist Church.
Right. Now, one of your sons was here?
Yes, we had 2 sons here. One as a resident, and the other one was as a youth worker, he and his wife, who then, after graduation from Theological College, became the night church pastor for 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Now, what's the future for Flo Harris Lodge?
The future for Flo Harris Lodge is bright. I think there's just this momentum for providing accommodation and the satisfaction the residents have. I don't know that we really need to advertise other than by word of mouth. The future is good. The church's commitment remains strong, and the structure through the youth minister and the youth workers will sustain that link. So I think the future is very, very strong, and we look forward to what God has there in plans for the young people coming into Sydney. One of the little side issues of being at Flo Harris Lodge is the amazing number, I don't know whether this is going to apply to you anytime soon, mate, the number of young people who get together for life, in other words, they get married.
So you think
Sally
that
needs to watch.
Wesley and Sally might need to watch things?
Well, Mum and Dad might. But that's encouraging.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
encouraging.
Sure. Well, Peter Blencowe, thank you very much for this a very insightful and informative little talk. This is Mark Johnson signing off for the Australian Missionary News.